Mantour Ministries presents the Mantour Guy Podcast. We may talk about football. We could mention bacon. We might reference Rocky movies. We'll probably discuss the Mantour conferences, but we'll definitely talk about how to grow in our walk with God. Here's your host, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden.
Hey guys, welcome to the Mantour Guy Podcast. Jamie Holden here, and I'm so happy to have you join us once again today. Well guys, this week we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. First of all, we're releasing this podcast on a Thursday, and we're doing this for two different reasons. First, because of Labor Day weekend being last Monday, we didn't want to release the podcast on the holidays, so we were going to let our 50th episode up for 2 weeks. But, then I realized the NFL season starts during that 2-week span. I didn't want to miss making our Week 1 Write It in Ink picks. So today we're going to do a fall kickoff episode, kicking off both the NFL season as well as a time when churches are going to be restarting their men's ministries after breaking for the summer. So, in the first half of this podcast, we're going to discuss how to get men involved this fall. And then after the break, we're going to look at our weekly picks for both Week 1 and Week 2 of the NFL season. And I'll give you my Super Bowl picks for the season as well. And then on September 17th, we're going to get back on track with a new podcast that Monday. All right, guys. Well, with that little bit of business out of the way, let's get right into it here. So, how do we get men involved this fall? This is a really good question. And there's one big thing that gets men sidelined and sidetracked during the fall, and that is football. And as men in the church, we have to learn how to not bully or guilt guys in our church into coming to men's ministry, but instead we need to find ways to use this distraction as a way to entice the men to come. And there are many ways to do this, but here are two that I've actually seen men's ministry successfully use to reach men during the fall. So number one, have a tailgate party. In today's technological age, the ability to stream football games on the internet makes it possible to watch a football game outdoors. You can hold a tailgating party at your church's parking lot or in some other neutral site pregame, and then you can watch the game via projector together with all the men. You can use an inflatable movie screen, or if you don't have that, you can just hang a sheet against the side of a building. And then during halftime, you could deliver a short devotional, you could pray together, and then watch the second half of the game. Guys, this is a great event to invite any unsaved friends or family to attend with you. And it's also a great way to get the new guy at church who has yet to connect with the men plugged in and involved. You can set up your grill, you can fire it up and grill away as you all cheer for your favorite team. You don't want to do this every week, obviously, but it's a great way to get men interested in joining the group. I really believe that all men's ministry should start Week 1 after a long break, such as summer break, with some sort of an outreach type night, and this tailgate idea would be a great way to do it, a great way to get the men plugged back in, a fun outreach night, and reach out, have fun together, and set up the rest of your season of men's ministry together. Okay, the other idea I have for you is have a Super Bowl party. I know what you're thinking, Jamie, the Super Bowl isn't until February. I don't want to be thinking about that already. And yeah, I know that, but you need to start thinking about it now. You want to start planning it now so it's not just thrown together at the last minute. You could plan a Super Bowl party at your church. You could open it up to the entire church, not just the men. Make it a family event. You could have food. You could watch the game together. Basically, you could all have a blast together. And then during the extremely long, never-ending halftime show, instead of just sitting and watching this very long show, have someone share a short devotional and then end it all with an invitation to be a part of the weekly men's group. Give a little description of the men's group and invite the men there to come out every week. Again, this is a great event to invite an unsaved friend to attend. It's also a great way, to get that new guy at church who has yet to connect with the men plugged in and get them involved. I don't think it's a good idea to make men feel guilty for liking football during the fall. It isn't going to turn them on to your group. It's going to turn them away. Instead, we need to use it to reach men, to connect men into your group, and to invite unsaved friends. Don't let the football frenzy be a discouragement to your men's group. Instead, make it a positive and an opportunity to develop your group even more. Use it to your advantage. You don't want to do it every week, like I said, but you want to use it to your advantage to get guys interested, to get guys to turn out, and just to have some fun together as an outreach. And then the following weeks, do your discipleship and your mentorship program together. So that's what we have this week as far as how to get men involved in your men's group this fall. So guys, we're going to be right back with our Write It in Ink picks, as well as my picks for Super Bowl 53, right after this break.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Like what you're hearing? Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks.
No matter where you came from, what you've done, or what you struggle with, God can use you. He can restore you. He can put you in the starting lineup and use you to change the world. Let's stop believing the enemy's lies. In Mantour Ministries' book, Get in the Game, you will review the game tapes of biblical examples to learn what plays they made, where they fumbled, and how we can gain a victory. Order your copy today at mantourministries.com. It's time to get off the bench and get in the game.
Order your copy today at mantourministries.com. Yep, you're listening to the Mantour Guy Podcast.
With the advent of the internet, pornography became affordable, anonymous, and accessible. And with this affordability, anonymity, and accessibility, porn in the minds of many gained a greater acceptability. What we once called hardcore porn, we now call softcore porn. What we once considered softcore, we just now call Game of Thrones. Today, one can easily say that porn has become the norm, and that is even among churchgoers. A recent survey discovered that 64% of Christian men admit that they view pornography at least monthly. That percentage goes up to 77% when considering just millennials, those who are 18 to 30 years old. Among millennials, 36% say they view porn daily. The same survey looked at women, and 13% of Christian women said they had never looked at porn. 33% said that they view porn at least a few times a year, and 15% said they view it at least once a month. To get 250 more pornography statistics, complete with original references and sources, go to covenanteyes.com/pornstats and download the complete report for free.
Sign up for Covenant Eyes using the code Mantour at checkout and receive 1 month of free service. Visit covenanteyes.com today to sign up, and remember, 1 month of free service when you use the code Mantour. That's MANTOUR.
Listen to the Mantour Guy Podcast on the go via Apple Podcast and Google Play. Thanks.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here. Did you know that only 10% of churches have a healthy, thriving men's ministry? That's only 1 out of 10 churches. Well, my mission is to see this number become 100%. Join me in my work with HEUS Missions to help develop men's ministry in the local church. Become a monthly financial investor in the work God called me to do by going to mantourministries.com/partner and clicking on the Give Online button. Together, we can see God continue to move among men.
Welcome back to the Mantour Guy Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Mantour Guy Podcast. Jamie Holden here once again. I'm so glad to have you join us for the remainder of the podcast here. Well, as I said earlier, football season starts once again tonight. And, you know, it's kind of a bittersweet moment for me because it means we have football every week until mid-February, but it also means the end of all those jokes and memes about the Eagles not having a Super Bowl ring. I mean, tonight they get the ring, all those funny jokes just have to go by the wayside. But anyways, you know, I'm looking forward to another great year of football. And before I share with you my Super Bowl picks, it's time for our NFL Lead Pipe Write and Eat picks for both Week 1 and Week 2. Here we go.
The Mantour Lead Pipe Write It in Ink NFL pick.
All right, for the Week 1 picks, I don't want any part of picking tonight's game on the record here. With the injuries the Eagles have on offense, the Falcons should win this game. But, you know, the emotions of getting the rings, it could be the edge the Eagles need. So I'm not going to make them one of my 3 picks this week. I'm not going on record on that game at all. But here's what I do think for Week 1. I think the Rams are going to beat the Raiders handily. I'm all in on the Rams this year. I think they're going to have a great season. And the Raiders are just a mess. They traded their best player. Raiders are going to finish last in the division. You heard it here first. They're just a mess. Game number 2, the Lions. They're going to beat the Jets. Jets are going to be better this year than they were last year, but the Lions, I think it's going to be too much for them there. And my Week 1 Write It in Ink pick, you can write this one down, It is going to happen. The Ravens will beat the Bills. All I have to say is Peterman is starting for the Bills. Seriously. The Ravens are going to demolish them. This game's not even going to be close. That is my Write It in Ink pick. So for week 1, I'm picking the Rams over the Raiders, the Lions over the Jets, and of course the Ravens are going to beat the Bills. For week 2, our Write It in Ink picks for week 2. Well, this time around, I'm going to say Sam Darnold and the Jets will get the win as the Jets beat the Dolphins there. I'm giving the Jets that victory. In a Monday night upset, I think the Bears will beat the Seahawks. I am all in on the Bears this year, especially after the upgrade they did on their defense with Khalil Mack. Their offense is going to be good, I think. Keep your eye out on the Bears. They're going to be a sneaky good team this year, and I think they beat the Seahawks in the upset. And then my Write It in Ink pick for that week, my Denver Broncos will beat the Raiders. So there you have it, my week 1 and week 2 picks.
Here's this week's Facebook feedback.
Well, guys, before I share my picks for this year's Super Bowl, I want to share with you the results of a recent poll I held on Facebook. I asked people, who do you think will win Super Bowl 53? The first option was the Eagles or Patriots, and the second option was the field. And you know what? I will admit I was surprised by the gap in the results since I live in the heart of Eagles country. But the field won by 87% of the vote, while the Eagles and Patriots only got 13% of the vote. So out there in Facebook land, the people who vote on the poll, they do not see a repeat of last year. They're going to vote for the field. So there you heard it here first on the Mantour Guy podcast. All right, so every year I do this. Who do I think will play in this year's Super Bowl? Well, let's go through this a little bit. Let's look at a few possible winners I have here. I'm confident the Patriots are going to win the AFC East easily. There's nobody can compete with them in that division. That division is just a mess. So they're going to win that hands down, far and away, easily. I'm going to boldly predict that my Broncos win the AFC West. I'm not just being a homer pick here. I really believe it. Case Keenum is going to play good enough with the defense, top all the turnovers we had last year. Their rookie running back, Royce Freeman, he's going to be a top 5 running back, I'm predicting this year. And I think my Broncos, with that defense, is going to win the AFC West. And I think the Chargers are going to get a wild card spot. I don't see anyone knocking out the Steelers in the top spot in the AFC North, but I do think both the Browns and the Bengals are improved over last year. They'll give them a run for it, but they're not going to overtake the Steelers. The Steelers are going to win. And I think the Jaguars are going to win the AFC South. That defense is just too good. They have a strong running game. I don't think anybody's going to knock them off. And the final wild card, I think, is going to go to the Tennessee Titans. I think they get the final wild card. Although, if Andrew Luck returns to form, the Colts could sneak in there as well. So, I think in AFC, when all the dust settles, here you go, my AFC pick. I can't believe I'm going to actually say this, but I think the Jaguars are left standing on top. They knocked the Steelers off last year. They almost got the Patriots there. And I think this year they do beat the Patriots and they go to Super Bowl. So I'm picking the Jacksonville Jaguars to come out of the AFC and go to the Super Bowl. So who do they play? Well, in the NFC, I think the Giants win the NFC East. I know all my Eagle fans out there are screaming at me right now. But I think this is going to be the Giants' year to go in the NFC East. I do think the Eagles are going to get a wild card spot. Their defense is just too good, but I just don't think their offense is going to be as good as it was last year. I think the Rams walk away with the NFC West. But there's going to be surprising Arizona Cardinals finishing second in that division. Nobody's picking the Cardinals, I don't think, but me. But, I think they're going to finish second, and they're going to just miss the playoffs. Their defense is young. It's going to be a good defense. Got a great running back. So watch out for the Cardinals. They're not going to be as bad as everybody thinks they are. I think the Saints win the NFC South. I think the Falcons win the final wild card. And I think the Vikings just eke out the NFC North over the Bears. And, surprisingly, the Packers, they're going to finish third in what I think is going to be the toughest division in the NFL. Honestly, I could see any of the 4 teams in the NFC North winning that division. Least likely of that group is probably the Lions, but, any of those 4, that's going to be a tough division. They're going to just beat each other up week after week, those 4 teams. And I don't think the Packers are going to make it as far as everybody says. So, when the dust clears and the playoffs are done, I think the Saints are going to be standing atop the NFC. and I think they're going to play the Jaguars in Super Bowl 53. So, which of those two teams am I picking to be the final winner? Well, I am predicting right now that in Super Bowl 53, the Saints are going to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're just going to be too much for the Jags to handle, and I think it's going to be a not even close there. So I'm going with the Saints in a blowout over the Jags. I know, all my Steelers and Eagles fans and friends out there are going to hate those picks, but I just wasn't sold on either of those teams this year. I think they're going to both be good, but I just don't think they're going to get to the Super Bowl. So, anyways, that's my Super Bowl pick, the Saints over the Jaguars.
The Mantour Guy's final thought.
All right, guys, I want to end today's podcast with my final thoughts by addressing a very controversial topic. And I'm not going to take sides either way on this topic, but I'm going to share some thoughts on my perspective of it. As you know, the NFL boycotts are still active and thriving. And like I said, I'm not going to comment either way in the boycotts. All I'm going to say is, as brothers in Christ, we should not be attacking each other over it. What do I mean? Well, last season I saw too many guys who didn't boycott getting attacked as bad citizens and being unpatriotic by those who did boycott the NFL. And I also saw the boycotters getting attacked and put down by those who were watching the NFL. All right, listen, guys. I truly believe that those who boycott do it out of a genuine issue of conscience, and I would never tell them they are wrong for standing up for what they believe in. I am also not going to criticize those who can separate their politics from their recreational fun in sports. In my opinion, neither side is wrong to do it. It's a matter of conscience. But I do think the sniping and the fighting between the two groups is wrong and is unchristlike. I would recommend that we all make up our minds for ourselves, but abstain from trying to make up the minds for other people. Let me say that again. We need to make up our minds for ourselves, but we need to stop trying to make up the minds of other people. Do all we can to live at peace with one another. I think I read that somewhere. Where could it have been? Well, I think it was Romans 12:18, where Paul says, if it's possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. The Message says, if you got it in you, get along with everybody. So, guys, just lay off of your brothers in Christ. If they are boycotting, it's because their conscience will not allow them to watch it. They feel so strongly about it. And if you're not boycotting, it's because it doesn't bother your conscience, and you can separate the two. Don't get in a fight with each other. Don't put each other down. You just admire the other one for their stance and just make up your own mind. Don't try and make up somebody else's mind for them. Well, guys, that's all we have for this week's podcast. If you haven't already done so, head over to Apple Podcast, iTunes, or Google Play and subscribe. And while you're there, why don't you leave a 5-star review so more men can find the podcast. Just a reminder, we're going to be back with you on Monday, September 17th. Until then, learn more about our conference dates and locations, our books and resources, and so much more at MantourMinistries.com. Thanks again for giving up your time to join us this week, and we will see you all next time for another brand new episode of the Mantour Guy Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Mantour Guy Podcast. Be sure to visit MantourMinistries.com to learn more about our books, men's ministry resources, and our Mantour conferences.
Hey guys, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden here. I'd love to come share at your church, at your men's ministry, at your next men's event, or men's breakfast. I have a challenging word for God's men to help them become the men that God has called them to be. If you'd like to have me come share with your group, visit MantourMinistries.com to contact me about coming to challenge and encourage your church's men to grow in their walk with God. Before we go, guys, one last thing. We did talk about it in the podcast. But if you sign up with Covenant Eyes at CovenantEyes.com and you use the code Mantour when you check out, you can receive 1 month of free service. Guys, what do you got to lose? You can try for 30 days, see how great it is, see how helpful it is to your walk with God. I guarantee you're not going to want to get rid of it. You're going to love it. So try it, protect yourself, protect your family, and raise up a standard against the enemy as he is trying to attack you and your loved ones. Try Covenant Eyes for free for 30 days using the code MANTOUR, it's MANTOUR, at CovenantEyes.com. Try it today, guys. What do you got to lose?
The Mantour Guy Podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.